And former Shell Oil President John Hofmeister. John, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining the conversation.
Thanks for having me.
What's your take on what's going on this morning and over the last several months in terms of oil? Do you expect a big impact in terms of jobs with prices where they are?
Yes, I think we'll see a continuing decline in jobs for the next couple of months. But let's not forget, there is natural decline taking place in the reservoirs, and some of the production decline is because of this natural attrition in the oil fields. And even though jobs will decrease in the short term because everybody's looking at their budgets for 2016, and I think it's going to be another rough year from a job standpoint in the oil patch until maybe the second half of the year, I do think that the decline in production will continue. I suspect by next June we'll be down about 1 million barrels a day from where we were last June. And that's a big cut. And if there's any global demand increase, and I think this will be a demand-led price recovery,
right.
I think it's going to be, it will be recovering sometime during next year. How much? Too soon to tell.
Yeah, we're with Jim McAllister this morning, who made the point earlier that so many jobs have been created in the energy sector since 2007, which makes me feel like that's why the job story is going to get impacted. Jim, explain your business and how you see oil impacting things.
Well, what I see is in the Texas market, to a lot of people's surprise, it's not all energy. It's 6% of the economy is upstream energy, and so the upstream energy sector in Texas, of course, is getting hit very hard. And I agree with John that it's going to have continued layoffs. But the rest of the Texas economy is doing great. I'm in the commercial real estate business, and so we're seeing the housing fundamentals, the development fundamentals in Texas are extremely strong. The growth is extremely strong. The 9 of the top 10 fastest growing cities are in Texas.
Right.
And so so Texas is doing really well, to a lot of people's surprise, even though the energy is going through a tough time. And I think it's going to be another tough year or so. And then I think we're going to be pulling out of it and be back in a good spot again.
John, how do you see it?
Well, I see it very much the same way. The one thing that never gets any attention, though, is the downstream business in the industry is doing very well. The record number of miles driven in this country is keeping the refineries operating at maximum capacity. And I do think that consumers enjoy the low prices. But let's be clear, over the longer term, we should not continue to live in this volatile world of oil only as our transportation fuel. And I do think we need to look at how do we expand transportation fuels into natural gas. In North America, that would be a godsend to the industry right now if we were building and investing in a new infrastructure for natural gas-derived fuels so that we don't continue to depend on this swinging open gate of volatility that we face periodically from the oil patch and by itself.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And so if we're looking at a sustained energy future, we should not just stick with oil. We really need to move natural gas into mainstream fuels.
Yeah, very good point, Jim.
Hey, John, it's Dagan McDowell. Boone Pickens has talked about that for years now. So where's that money going to come from? Because, again, you've had so few natural gas vehicles on the market, fewer today than I think just a few years ago. And you just don't have the infrastructure in place to basically fill up your car with nat gas.
You're absolutely right. And I'm not just talking CNG. I'm talking ethanol and methanol, where we can really build an industry. What it needs, Dagan, and this is where Washington falls flat on its face every time, what we need are some signals. Some signals either in the tax structure, some signals perhaps in the guidance that Congress and the White House could provide the industry that we want to move away from oil as the only fuel for transportation and move in other directions. And then the entrepreneurs of this country, the wealth that's sitting, idle, will go to work. And it will create the infrastructure. It'll build the cars.
Today, the Senate Banking Committee is prepping a bill entitled the American Crude Oil Export Equality Act. But you say, we need an energy plan for the future. And you're seeing value destruction of billions of dollars of investment, the loss of 200,000 high-paying jobs because we don't have the right policies in place.
That's right. It comes down to what is the articulated public policy of the nation with respect to building a holistic energy framework for the future that really does include all the above.
Yeah.
All the above is nothing but rhetoric. It's empty rhetoric from empty minds that don't want to take any accountability for the future of America's energy. And that's a mistake.
It's a big story, John. Thank you so much for joining us. John Hofmeister there.